Agents are going up against not just other agents. We're going up against, Zillow or realtor.com. But if we can present our value in a way that says, hey, I already have 100 homes in this area, in this price range that I know you're going to love, and you can get access to it right now, instantly, all of a sudden it becomes a decision of, do I want this now? Or do I want to have to go put in the work later to get this, same or less value than what I can just do right away?
What's up, y'all? You're listening to the Carrot Cast podcast, the podcast with a funny name, but a big mission. We help thousands of real estate investors and agents grow rock-solid mindsets, do better marketing so that you can build a business of freedom and impact. I'm your host, Trevor Mock. Let's dive into today's episode. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to part 4 of the Facebook marketing series for motivated sellers. We're going to dip a little bit into buyers in this one. The majority of this series is on sellers, but you can take the exact same principles we've been talking about and apply those campaign principles, apply the mindset, apply the creative principles to all types of ads. Doesn't matter if you're marketing for sellers, buyers, or selling toilet pipe or whatever you're going to do. So in this episode, what we're going to do here, guys, I've got back the boys from Silver Street Marketing again, Kiley and Jensen. We're not going to be giving a full introduction on this one. We'll give you guys links on how you can connect with them. You can find them inside of the Carrot Marketplace as well to engage with them. If you're like, man, I just don't want to do this work, I'd rather have them do it all for me. Go to the Carrot Marketplace, carrot.com/marketplace. Find them in there. If you are not a Carrot member, silverstreetmarketing.com. So in this one here, agents in hybrids, how to optimize your Facebook ads for better seller leads. We're going to talk messaging, brand building, and more. The 5 things we're going to go through are this. Number 1, are ads the same for agents and investors? What should we do there? Are they the same? Number 2, how to build long-term authority with your content in Facebook. Number 3, finding buyer and seller leads. So what are some things you can do to kind of modify the way you're running your ads to get some buyers? Number 4 then is messaging for hybrid. What should you do for the messaging? And then number 5, what happens if your ads get disapproved? Because that's something that we do see come up quite commonly, and there's some fixes that Kiley and JT can walk us through. So I'm going to toss over to you guys. Agents and hybrid. Are ads the same? So if you are an agent versus an investor looking for sellers, how do the ads differ?
I think the first thing to ask yourself when you're about to start creating ads for your segment is you kind of have to think, well, what's the difference between the leads? There's a big difference when it comes to trying to cultivate leads that are traditional, need to list their home versus those that need to sell quickly. And part of that is going to be, the mental aspect and the timeline. So, what we've noticed is that when you're generating leads as an agent, you have to jump in front of these people about 6 months before they're ready to make a decision. And the reason for that is because we all know 3 to 5 agents in our lives. And subconsciously, we might be making that decision of, why am I not going to use my cousin who has a real estate license? And so we have to get in front of them with enough time to give them consistent value so that they connect us and our personal selves, our brand, and they notice us as the expert. And so it's an easy decision not to use a family member because we're the expert in the area. Whereas the investors, we're focusing on capturing people a month before they're ready to make their decision to sell their home, because they still haven't talked to an investor already. They're exploring, but they're right about that timeline to start making a decision. And their decisions are a lot quicker versus someone who's looking to list it. It's a little bit more of a longer timeline that we need.
Yeah, the other thing to consider there is the motivation is going to be different too. And that's part of that timing, but also why they're doing what they're doing, which often is a driver of the timing. If someone has a motivation because they're in a tough spot or because they're up against a time constraint, then obviously their motivation to move quickly is different than someone who's like, I'm thinking about moving. Maybe it's time to upgrade from my first home to my second home or whatever. And that's where that timeline plays a role as well. Because we see on the investor lead, on the motivated lead side, for sure, all the time, people who had their first contact and then later, much later, that's when the transaction actually takes place. but their motivation is a little different than someone who, again, is like up against something a little more urgent.
Dude, and there's so many good things people should think about there, because if you think about it, like JT was saying, a traditional seller that an agent would be targeting isn't ready to sell right away. And so what might they be thinking? They might be thinking, what the heck's my house even worth? They might be, like JT mentioned, well, shoot, I know Sally, and then my sister and my neighbor. And then there's the person that's on the bus, the bus stop over there, the bus bench. I've heard of them. Who should I work with? And so this is your chance. And we're going to walk through how you can do it. This is your chance to get in front of them while they're thinking about those things, building that trust, building authority. We'll talk about it. So let's kind of go into a little bit of the differences there. So what would you guys do if you're going after a seller for someone who's strictly an agent, like just an agent, they're looking for listings, versus someone who's strictly an investor looking for someone who's motivated to sell now? What would some of the messaging difference be?
When it comes to somebody who's looking to list versus someone who needs to sell quickly, we have to think about, kind of what we mentioned. What's their motivation factor, and what is the best way to give them something that they're already asking themselves. Everyone has a problem, and we're the ones providing a solution. So we have to understand the problem that we're addressing. For people who are thinking about listing their home, one common one that we see a lot of agents doing is, how much is your home worth? How is it affected by the market? And so we can address those in the messaging and answer those questions. But then we want to add on, our unique selling points. What makes us different? What makes us the expert in the area? Is it, adding in with, your little package of your CMA, but also adding in, hey, here are 5 repairs that you can make that are going to add another, $10,000 to your list price. Is, showing people that you have a unique selling point along with the, answering their questions they already have. It's what we want included in that messaging and on that landing page that we're driving them to, because then we can address their motivation.
Dude, and that's so good, because what most agents will think about initially is the home value add, which that can work, especially as you're further down the funnel. But I really loved how you pulled out some specific things that they would maybe be looking for, JT, that would jump out to them. The 2 things that will raise your home value 10 grand before you, like that kind of stuff is really interesting. Most other agents probably aren't saying that kind of stuff. So I like it. And Kiley, I think you were getting ready to say something. I interrupted you.
No, you're good. I was just going to add in, Trevor. Carrot talks a lot about authority and building that. And Facebook is a great extension of building that authority. So your main source of authority is your website, because you can own and control that. But Facebook is a great place to distribute that. So if you're using the content on a Carrot site, for example, like an Advanced Marketer or Content Pro, and you have that content that's coming out to you each month, you can take and then kind of repurpose that to what JT is talking about, where now you're leveraging that content to go out, get in front of people, build authority, but also create a little hook to get them to pay attention to you. Because I think that's the other big difference. JT already touched on this, but I don't have any data to back this up, but I'm willing to bet most people couldn't say, I know 4 or 5 real estate investors, but most people can say, I know 5 to 10 real estate agents. So your ability to differentiate yourself is crucial. And it's tough. It's tough to differentiate yourself as an agent, I think. And then the other benefit is just being top of mind. So being in front of people, having that top spot in someone's mind plays a major role in all marketing. So you see this in e-commerce, or even big brands like Coca-Cola. Why does Coke spend so much money on just like big branding? Part of that is so that we think about them. And so, we most agents can't spend that kind of money, but you can do things that keep you top of mind to your market and your audiences.
So in the previous session, so part 3 of this Facebook series, we talked a little bit about the different types of your campaign setups, right? And at the top of the funnel, video views engagement was a part of that. So if you're an agent or an investor, we'll kind of use both examples here. How much does video play a role in an effective ad campaign? Where would you guys use video, and where would you not use video potentially?
Yeah, we like to test video in multiple places. I think it's not a question of, does video work or not work? It's, what type of video do you want to use in each section? Because I think that's where you're going to see better results versus, slower results, depending on where you are in that funnel. And the top of funnel with like the video views campaigns, specifically for people who are trying to show that they're an expert in the space, it's a really good place to give a lot of really good, solid content that people can find valuable, like market updates, things that are going to capture their attention and keep them a little bit longer. Whereas in your middle funnel, where you're focusing a little bit more on lead generation, you want things that are a little bit closer, that are really hard hooks, really quick decisions to get them into the landing page to generate that lead.
Cool. And do that. That's a really good distinction, because some people probably aren't connecting how you move someone through the funnels, right? So top of funnel, like you said, is getting them engaged in your stuff. But in those, are we driving to a call to action, or is it mainly just, hey, let's get you to engage in my value?
I always like to have a call to action to decipher those that are extremely motivated versus those that aren't. So that's why we do have a framework in our copy, so that as people go through, they're watching the video, we have a call to action at the end, but we also have that call to action in our copy, so that when they read and they see the headline and it hooks them, if they're ready to convert right away and they don't need all of the interaction with you because they know that's what they want, we want them to have that option, but then provide it for those that need a little bit more of that cultivation. So cool. I would say you always want to do something with a purpose. And that's how you don't waste, your marketing dollars, is make sure you have a purpose behind your decisions. But here at Silver Street, we prefer having good call to actions that lead to purposeful action by the lead.
Yeah. So what you might do there is you might have a campaign that is optimized for video views. So what that means is that Facebook algorithm considers success when someone watches the video. And we do that on a colder audience because that's an easier way to get, that's an easier action for someone to take. But it also is a measurement of engagement and of interest. And then we're going to try to push them further down the funnel. But like JT said, that piece of that ad will also have a call to action. And if someone takes the action on that, then we know, okay, they've now maybe jumped a couple steps to show even more engagement or more motivation. And the part we can't forget is now you've got their information. So hoping you have a great follow-up system, which now you're nurturing that person, not just outside in Facebook or whatever, but you're now nurturing them through your CRM or through your follow-up and your sales process.
Dude, that's so good. And once again, I'm asking these questions so people can piece these things together, because I think everyone who's listening to this series agrees they want to do it. It's valuable, but then they're like, well, what are the pieces? And so that top of the funnel, it's add value. It's get stuff out there that will have broad appeal, have a CTA in there, but you're mainly optimizing to see if people are watching it. And then once people do, if they don't skip the line and go opt in, then you put them in the middle of the funnel, which has some more value, but also more directly driving to an action. And then bottom of the funnel is like straight up, like they were saying in the previous part, it's where you're going to be adding testimonials. It's where you're going to be adding objection busters, things like that. You don't want testimonials at your top of the funnel because they don't even know about you yet. So that's where that comes in. That's how that guides people through. So let's go over here. Let's talk about authority a little bit. What can people do to use Facebook to build long-term authority with their content?
So one of those things I kind of shared a little bit earlier, but it's creating value on Facebook, and you can do that by just posting. Typically, won't get a ton of engagement or reach out of a post nowadays on Facebook without putting a little bit of boost behind it. However, the reality is that Facebook is becoming more and more a search engine for people as well. So it certainly is not at the level that Google is as a search engine. But it is becoming a search engine, and people use YouTube the same way too. Like if I need to know how to fix something, I go to YouTube and use it like a search engine, right? Like, how do I fix this? So, but the way people use Facebook as a search engine primarily is to just look up and see who you are. So they might look you up on Google, and then they might look you up on Facebook too, and just see what's on there. So first of all, having a presence, I think, is meaningful. And then having a presence that looks like you actually exist is very important. So I say that kind of jokingly, but also serious. There's a lot of Facebook pages out there that are like ghost towns. And I think it's worth just making sure that you're posting occasionally and providing value. So again, that could be the little nuggets of value that JT mentioned earlier, blog posts, tips to get more out of your house, that kind of stuff. But also you should be celebrating all of your successes on there too. Customer testimonials, celebrating new homes. And there's lots of ways, a lot of agents listening to this, like that, you guys know this stuff because you're taking pictures with your customers and you're putting it in your newsletter, or you're putting it on your website. So it's just one more addition, throw it on Facebook and get a video of that customer talking about how great you are as well. And put that on, or I shouldn't say how great you are, how well you solve their problem is truly the right thing. And throw that on Facebook as well.
Dude, so we have a client came to the last Carrot Camp it's a house buying guys down in Dallas. And one thing that they've done since Carrot Camp, which I really love, is they've started to ramp up their content. It's Adam and Lance. And so Lance will go out there and he does every single week, he does a lunch with Lance. And so he posts a video and posts pictures of him having lunch at a spot. And he kind of like celebrates that spot and he markets that lunch spot. And then he has things where they're doing charity events. And some people might be looking at that going like, why the heck is an investor, like a cash home buyer, out there doing lunch with Lance and posting pictures on social and videos on social and doing, that kind of stuff? It's because the people that are sellers are interested in that stuff. They're interested in all that kind of stuff. And if you can get engagement and get them familiar to your brand, even if it has nothing to do with real estate, that's a good intro. They start to recognize your face, recognize your name. And then they might see, oh, they're a house buying company. Let me click and see who they are. Oh, shoot, my neighbor needs this. And so guys, get creative with that stuff. And I think you can stand out. So we're going to move to point number 3 now. Let's go. We've talked a lot about finding sellers, but let's focus on agents here specifically. What can agents do to find buyers through Facebook more effectively?
I think buyers is an awesome opportunity for agents. And one of the reasons for that is if you are targeting the right class of buyers, you can find about 50% of those need to buy a home, but they also need to sell an existing home that they already have. And so what that gives you is the opportunity to work both sides of the transaction for just one lead generated. And typically we can get these leads at a lot lower of a cost. But the key to being successful at getting buyer leads at a low cost that are quality leads is understanding how we take something that maybe a lot of agents can do, like provide properties that they may be interested in, and framing it to sound special and unique. Because agents are going up against not just other agents. We're going up against Zillow or Realtor.com, places where people can just start searching for themselves. But if we can present our value in a way that says, hey, I already have 100 homes in this area, in this price range that I know you're going to love, and you can get access to it right now, instantly, all of a sudden it becomes a decision of, do I want this now? Or do I want to have to go put in the work later to get this same or less value than what I can just do right away?
Dude, and that's so good. And here at Carrot, we found buyers, of course. Buyers obviously are a lower resistance type of lead, so they're going to have a higher conversion, going to be able to get more of them. And there's a couple things before we hit record we were talking about. I was just pulling up some of these pages on the side. What types of pages should an agent be sending buyers to that are converting really high right now from Facebook?
Yeah. So I really love sending buyers over to a landing page that has one singular focus. And that's going to be the same messaging that we're using inside the ad. So typically what I'll do is I'll use an image of a home that is in the price range that we're advertising access to that match similar or other homes that that buyer would be potentially interested in. And I want that to be a very clear and simple page with the call to action on the form. Typically, I'll put the form on the side, on the right-hand side, when they're looking at the screen. That way they get a good, clear image of the house that they might be potentially interested in. And they can go through and use the form as the call to action, saying they can get instant access to, hundreds of, or, 50 or 75 homes that match, this price range in this area. And typically, focusing on that motivation will work really well, and it'll get people to make an instant decision versus getting distracted with other things that might be going on.
Yeah. One quick important call out there, I think, is that where we've found more success is not in not necessarily all listings, but maybe testing some specific criteria can create a little additional stickiness.
Dude, and that's so important. So I'm going to share my screen really briefly. So those of you who are watching the YouTube version of this, you guys are going to get a treat. Those of you who are just listening to the podcast version, go to YouTube, subscribe to Carrot on YouTube, go to carrot.com/Facebook to get this whole series, get resources with it, get access to a Facebook webinar, the whole thing. We do have a course with Silver Street where we teach you how to do this. We give you the ads. We give you the step-by-step. There's the team is there to help you. But what I'm showing right now is kind of an example of what JT had mentioned. So it's a very simple landing page on the Carrot system. It's got a picture of a house. This particular landing page I'm showing is kind of generic blanket for all of Spokane. What I would personally do if I was running this, I would probably go to my Spokane IDX page. I'd probably screenshot a page with a bunch of listings and put that as the background versus one particular property, or screenshot the map as it is today showing all the listings and then make that the background. That it's almost like you opt in to unlock that. But in this example here, we're showing a house that's in Spokane. It says view available properties in Spokane. And this campaign, I know it worked really well in Google Ads. We were getting leads daily from Google Ads for buyers. Can make it be even more effective with some better imagery and better copy. And then there's this example here. It doesn't look amazing because the way it was set up is really set up for mobile. But when I bring this up, this is specifically from Facebook. This has generated hundreds of buyer leads for them over the past 4 to 5 listings. They're crushing right now in Spokane, and every single listing that they have, they launch a location page with Carrot. They launch a landing page that goes with that, and then they market this, and they're getting dozens and sometimes hundreds of buyers for this, and then they market those buyers to their future listings. And you can see here they land here on social media on a cell phone. Usually, it's going to show a picture of that property, and then right here they can opt in to see everything about that. And this converts pretty darn good, depending on the traffic type, depending on the house. We've seen conversion rates all the way from 10% to almost 30%, north of 30% in some of this stuff right here. So really simple stuff for buyers, y'all. Don't overcomplicate it for buyers at all. Any other tips, guys, and buyers? Then we're going to kind of wrap it up with any messaging adjustments for hybrid agent investors.
I think one other thing, JT, maybe you want to chat about this a little bit too, is just talking about how as you leveraging your new listings as well for both audience data and then also to generate new leads. I think this varies state by state, where how soon an agent can begin marketing a property before it hits the MLS. I could be wrong there. JT, correct me if you know, but we've seen some success leveraging that short time window before the property hits the MLS, that you, the agent, can market that. And then also, especially if your market is really hot, leveraging sort of access to open houses of properties as well, or priority showings or things like that. Because I know we're in Salt Lake City, and like many other areas in the country, you list a home and you have multiple offers within hours, and so creating some prioritization there.
Yeah, and I think just a quick thing to think about is how you're going to be consistently following up with this lead. When they submit their information to you, the question isn't, are you ready to buy yet? And keep on going back with, are you ready to buy yet? Keep bringing value, because they submitted their information for that value to receive the available properties, but they're going through the same struggles as all the other buyers that you're probably already helping. There's multiple offers on houses. They're trying to find the perfect fit inside their price range. Are they qualified and ready to go for the loan? Can they move quickly on a home? So putting together follow-up campaigns that highlight these problems, being able to agitate it a little bit and then provide your custom solution is going to help make you even more of an expert. So don't give up on the lead if the first time you call them and you're like, are you ready to buy a house? And they're like, how'd you get my information? Right? You got to make sure that we're constantly providing value. So, every month, continue to drip on these people and create unique ways that you can highlight what you're good at and the solutions that you can provide. And you'll see a lot more success than just the instant movers.
I love it. So here at Carrot, one thing we focus on a lot this past several years, especially the past year, is the hybrid agent investor. And it's something we're going to continue to push. I really believe it's not the future. It's like the today. If you're listening to this as an agent, you need to be working with investors or become one so you can present the cash offer. And then if you're an investor, it means 80% of your leads want retail. If you're throwing that 80% away, then you're losing out and serving people well, but also on a big chunk of revenue. So what should the hybrid agent investor do differently on Facebook ads, if anything? And we're going to talk about going after seller leads specifically here.
Yeah. I think a big thing is going to be messaging. We have to be able to control our messaging, and we have to understand that our messaging is going to change a little bit because we have an ability to solve multiple problems. We have multiple solutions. So we have to pick one that's really going to be able to encompass those. And what I've found running ads for hybrid agents is that showing a seller that you're the hub to find the perfect fit, whether it's to put more money in your pocket or find a custom solution because your home doesn't fit the normal circumstances, or maybe you just want to be in control of the sale of your home. And so being able to present the message with, I'm the hub that can provide the multiple solutions that would be the best fit for you, and you can stay in control of that and make that decision. You don't have to abide by certain norms or change things or have to conform. Then that's an easier message to be able to present rather than trying to present all three messages of, well, we could list your home, we could sell your home for cash, we could private sell your home, and making that the total message. It's rather those are encompassed in one main message.
Dude, and that's so good. So Kiley's bringing up something on the screen here, y'all. And once again, if you guys are watching the video version, you're going to get a treat. We're going to walk you through one type of an ad that you can do if you're a hybrid. But I'm going to toss it back to you guys. What is this ad showing, and how's it been performed for you guys?
Yeah, we've used this ad in multiple locations across the US, and this has been a really good performer. And with the idea that we're marketing a total package. And so you'll notice, and with the messaging that we try to use with this, we let people know that they can find a custom solution, and we'll give them 3 options right away in less than a minute. And the idea is to message this, that they can be in control of selling their house on their terms. They get to make the decision that fits best in their life. And we just give them a really brief overview that there's 3 options they can look at. And that's 1, they can get a cash offer. 2, they can sell their house privately off market to a buyer that we connect them with. And then 3 is to list on the market and traditionally go that route. And they can get have that fully presented to them once they click through the get quote and go to the landing page to submit their information.
Dude, this is so good. I dropped my phone behind the scenes, taking a picture of this and putting it on Instagram for all the hybrid agent investors out there. And y'all, once again, if you're not watching the video version of this, you're going to want to go to carrot.com/Facebook. Watch this. This is part 4 of this series. We give you an ad example that you can use for a hybrid going after motivated sellers. And this is really good, man, because while most sellers are going to be, or most agents are going to be marketing the home value, ad, which that works once again, but that's going to be less effective today because everyone can get home values from everywhere. I haven't seen an ad that's like this yet. And so I really like that. I love it. Love it. Well, dude, to wrap this puppy up, this is the last part in this series. One thing that has come up from time to time is with the Facebook guidelines getting more strict on real estate related ads. What happens when someone gets an ad disapproved inside of Facebook?
Yeah. This is something we hear, constantly is people who are trying to run their own ads. They'll come to us and say, hey, this has been disapproved, or I've lost access to my ad account because I didn't abide by a guideline. And what I have been, consistently telling people, there's a couple places to look. One is going to be the special ad category, which we've kind of already covered. You have to make sure that your special ad category has been selected. If you don't do this, no matter, you could even make the argument that you're not really advertising what's going against what they describe as a special ad category. But if it mentions real estate, you're going to fall under it. So be sure to click that. It actually will help your campaigns perform even better, even if you were able to circumvent that requirement. So make sure you click there. Second thing that you want to look at is going to be your copy, making sure that you're not making any political references in video or the copy that you're using. Try not to use the word "you" over and over and over again, because Facebook they notice that, and the algorithm thinks that you're calling out or trying to make somebody fit into a mold that you're describing. And so they don't like you using the word "you" over and over and over again. So think of creative ways that you can market your solution without having to use some of the hot trigger words. And you can find that on Facebook. It's available for you to look at. They have a whole list of words and phrases that they want you to stay away from because they feel like it goes against, certain audiences and tries to make them conform to a certain targeting method that you're using. So be sure to not assume anything about who you're targeting, and use the right phrases and keywords in your copy.
I like it.
The other thing I'll just add really quick, Trevor, is if you have an ad, so if you feel like you followed all the rules and your ad still was not approved, you're not alone. Facebook's ad approval process is far from perfect. It's a combination of algorithm and individuals that are looking at who knows how many ads. And so you can appeal that. That appeal process sometimes works great, and sometimes it doesn't. And so candidly, I think the other piece of advice I would give you is don't get hung up on it. And even if you think you're following the rules and Facebook is flagging it, because that has happened many, many times for us. And it's a fight. If you keep trying to have that fight, eventually Facebook will say, okay, you can't use your ad account anymore. So just make the change that Facebook is telling you need to make. And I mean, I can tell you that that's true even for a software company. So when Carrot's running Facebook ads, if you're talking about real estate agents, Facebook has an algorithm that's like, ooh, we need to look at that because they said real estate, special ad category. And you could argue with Facebook all day long that no, it's a software, it's not a special ad category. But at some point you just have to say, okay, I'm gonna play along and go for it. And then one last quick thing is there's always the option, and sometimes this works, is if you have an ad that was disapproved and maybe you've used it in the past, which can happen, and that can be very frustrating. Like, why is it being unapproved now? You can always just try recreating that ad, and sometimes it will go through on a separate thing.
I like it. Well, guys, this series has been awesome. So guys, I'm going to wrap up the whole series right now. Part one of the series was high level. It was high level on Facebook. What are we seeing right now? Why it's still an amazing, amazing tool for driving leads, especially seller leads right now. Number two, we talked creative. What should some of your ad creatives be? The words in your ad, the pictures in your ad, where should you send them? We talked about lead ads versus sending them to your Carrot site and the conversion difference there, the performance difference. Part three, we talked about optimizing and scaling up your campaigns. How should you lay those out? What about budgeting? A whole bunch of other cool things. Part four, we talked about agents, investors, the difference in messaging, showed you some ad examples, and we wrapped it up there with when your ads get disapproved, what happens. So what I want you guys to do is this. Once you can go to carrot.com/Facebook, carrot.com/Facebook, you're going to get this whole series here, and you're going to access some other amazing resources over there as well. And if you guys want to tap into the course that Silver Street has created in conjunction with Carrot, there's going to be a link over there that you can invest in that course as well if you want to do it yourself. Or if you don't want to do it yourself, go to our marketplace, carrot.com/marketplace. Tap into resources like Silver Street to have your ads ran for you so you can be an investor, so you can be an agent. So Kiley, JT, appreciate you guys hopping on this particular series. And I think people are going to really enjoy it because it's the deepest we've really dove in on this topic in quite some time. And I think it's going to give people exactly what they need to not only get started, but to improve what they're doing, and then also to delegate it if they don't want to do the work themselves. So y'all subscribe on YouTube for more series like this. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Give a rating and review if you enjoyed this series. Go follow Kiley on Instagram. Go follow Silver Street. And we appreciate the heck out of you guys. We're going to wrap this Facebook series. For the next series, look out for Google ads. Look out for our SEO series that we put out as well. Find all of those on carrot.com. Thank you guys.
Thank you.